Hi everyone. Today's lesson is on compound meter. What the heck is that? Compound meter is a meter in which each beat divides naturally into 3 equal parts instead of 2. Here is an example of compound meter, 6/8. Remember when we had our lesson on time signatures, we discussed that the top number and the bottom number both have different jobs. In this particular example, the top number is a 6. That tells us how many beats are in every measure. The bottom number has a different story altogether. It tells us what note gets the beat. Well, what does that mean? If we get rid of the top number and place a 1 on the top and read it as if it were a fraction, it would represent the 8th note. That means that the 8th note gets the beat in 6/8 time. So really, it's kind of like saying we have 6/8 notes in every measure. Here is an example of a measure in 6/8 time. There's two things we have to notice. The first thing we should notice is that these TTs are beamed differently than TTs in simple meter or in 2/4 or 3/4 or 4/4 time, right? Usually they're in groups of 2, but here we have 3 eighth notes beamed together. These 3 eighth notes and these 3 eighth notes. These would represent 2 separate larger groups. Okay, so each one of these eighth notes would equal 1, because now we're counting the eighth note. Right, and here's our 2 groups of 3. Here's our first group, and here's our second group. So if we were to clap this, we would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we have, like I said, the bigger beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Listen to that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we have our bigger beats. Our 1 and our 4 are going to be stronger because they represent the 2 separate groups. They're going to be our dominant beats. Let's look at another measure of 6/8. Look here, we have our quarter note, eighth, quarter, eighth, right? Normally, this would feel like a syncopated rhythm if we were in simple time. But here, it's going to feel differently because this quarter note has 2 eighth notes inside it. We are no longer counting quarter notes like we do when the 4 is at the bottom. We have an 8 at the bottom, so we're counting eighth notes. How many quarters are in this eighth note? Well, 2. So this quarter note would represent beat 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, we still have 2 groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Listen to what it would sound like if I clapped it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here is another example of a 6/8 measure. It's the same thing in the last example, but it's reversed. So here the eighth note would come in on beat 1, and the quarter notes would come in on beat 2 and 3. Because again, this quarter note has 2 eighth notes inside of it. Here's the 1, here's the second. And then we would have beat 4 and beat 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I were to clap it, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here is another example of a 6/8 measure. Remember a few weeks ago, we talked about dotted quarter notes and dotted notes in general. And we said that a dotted note takes half the value of the beat, of the value of the note, and adds that to make a new sum. Well, here, we know that we equal 6 beats. So if you're unsure of how many beats or how many eighth notes, are in this dotted quarter, you just do some simple math. Divide 6 by our 2 groups because we have 2 dotted quarters. And we would get 3 counts each, 3 eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Big beat, big beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are our long notes. Similarly, with our dotted half note, we know that our dotted half note equals 3 quarter notes. So that means it would equal 6 eighth notes. We also know it equals 6 eighth notes because it's the only note in this measure, and we must have 6 beats in every measure. So this dotted half note would be our full 6 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it would be held for that full 6 counts. Let's take a look at a different compound meter, 3/8. 3/8 is also has the 8 on the bottom, okay? But it's actually a simple meter. I misspoke. It's a simple meter, but our 6/8 is compound, but we still have the eighth note on the bottom, so that's why I want to talk about it here. Here we have 3 eighth notes, 1, 2, 3. Take a look here, 1, 2, 3. See how they line up? Inside this quarter, we have 2 eighths. And then here we have 1, 2, 3. Take a look at our dotted lines here to represent each eighth note. I'm going to clap each measure and go vertically here. Listen to the first one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's jump over here to our 6/8. Here is a common measure of 6 eighth notes. And then I have our dotted half, which has 6 eighth notes inside of it. And then our dotted quarter or our dotted quarter rest. And look at the big beat here. The first one would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Right? And measure beat 4, 5, and 6 are silent because of the rest. Okay. I hope you understand a little bit more about compound meter, and I'll see you next time.